Well, welcome to Deeply Rooted Botanical Medicine with Stephanie Georgiev, and that's me. I'm an author, a content creator, a podcaster, and I'm also an instructor on everything you could possibly imagine in terms of botanical medicine. And for about another week, if you want to learn all sorts of things about cardiovascular health, please check the links below, and I have a specially priced mini course on everything to do with the cardiovascular system. And as I've said in other episodes of Deeply Rooted, cardiovascular disease is the number one killer of human beings in the United States and Canada, and it is the most preventable death with simple things like diet, exercise, stress management, and also you can enhance all kinds of things with your cardiovascular system, your heart, your vessels, things like that, with botanical medicine, and very simple things like garlic and red rice yeast and other things like that. So really, this is a really wonderful course. It's a smaller part. It's like a mini taste of the larger year-long program, but this is specially priced for summer, and I highly recommend checking it out. Now, this is our regular weekly feature. Every Wednesday, we have This Week in Botanical Medicine. And if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that I'm rather tickled and also a little bit concerned about many things that are happening in the world of botanical medicine. And so I'm just going to give a little overview of what's going on, and especially this past week of July 2026. Now, in a major breakthrough, and this was published in Nature Communications, researchers at the University of Warwick, which is in the Midlands of the United Kingdom, successfully decoded how natural bacterial enzymes communicate to assemble complex, nature-inspired anti-cancer compound. Now, at the surface of this, it's like, well, why would you want to do that? But this team at Warwick University identified specific molecular docking domains that act like a physical puzzle and create connections. And these domains allow different enzyme systems to perfectly pass compounds down an assembly line to create drug variants. And this is doing all sorts of things like blood cancer treatments, etc. And by figuring out how these bacterial enzymes communicate, this solves a decade-old mystery in combination biosynthesis. And by reverse engineering this natural framework, scientists can now design synthetic pathways to engineer optimized nature-derived therapies with higher potencies and fewer side effects. Now, this is kind of a mixed blessing. There have been numerous cases where pharmaceutical companies will base a pharmaceutical drug on a natural substance, and then they want to own that natural substance. Let's say it's a mushroom complex or something like that. And you cannot own yet natural substances. You can't put a patent on garlic. You can't put a patent on ginger or turmeric. But you can put patents on synthesized variants of various plant substances where you put things together, or put a hydroxyl group or a benzene group or whatever, and then you can say, well, we own that. So this is an interesting development. It's going to be very interesting to see what this does to pharmaceuticals, mainly because a lot of drugs that have been incredible gifts to humanity, have really erased diseases, et cetera, et cetera. The problem with some of these drugs is they basically build up resistance of whatever they're trying to target. So if it's a bacteria or a virus, different things like that, what happens is the offending illness agent basically figures out how to not react to the medicine. And that's why pharmaceutical companies are really searching for solutions to this problem. But of course, it's their businesses and they want to make profits. So this is just going to be interesting. Now, on the regulatory front, there are several amendments that have officially taken effect regarding the sale and promotion of herbal and traditional products. And there are updates on the regulation on sales, advertisement, and promotion of medical devices. And what they've done is they've introduced rigid parameters governing the licensing and electronic tracking, packaging, and marketing of aromatherapeutic products and herbal medicinal substances. And this is basically through the Food and Drug Administration in the United States and the FDA Human Foods Program is also updating its agenda to include draft guidance on the labeling of caffeine content in foods and beverages. So this is going to be interesting to also see how this influences customer and consumer behavior. I'm a person that absolutely cannot tolerate caffeine. I always said I got through my undergraduate and several graduate programs with maybe 1 cup of coffee. And I did that 1 cup and never wanted to do another one. So I can't even do chocolate in the afternoon or I can't go to sleep. So this will be interesting. They want to figure out caffeine content. They're also, there's all kinds of interesting updates in terms of manufacturers. And I don't like these things, but I'm not a smartphone person. But what they're doing is they're updating QR labeling on medicinal botanical products so that they can verify blockchain certificates of analysis. So if you want to get those blockchains, you can take your smartphone with your QR receiving app and you can shine that on your supplement bottle and it'll take you right there. And what's interesting about it, which I just don't like QR codes, but that's me. But what these QR codes are going to do is they're going to show you where the plant has been harvested, the chemical fingerprint, and purity metrics, like are you actually getting what you think you are? Are they putting other things in there of botanical extracts? And what's also interesting is there are new product lines hitting the market focused heavily on clinically backed, clean label, non-GMO formulations. And these formulations for these QR integration codes are specific for blood sugar regulation, stress adaptogens, and metabolic health. Now, there's a really, really interesting organization. It's called the Botanical Safety Consortium, and this has advanced new approach methodologies ahead of its upcoming meetings. And they have newly published screening strategies focused heavily on using microelectrode array recordings to perform precise dose response assessments of and I just love these new terms, neuroactive botanical extracts. And what this is doing is it will basically increase information so consumers know what they're taking, and especially with certain types of plants. And this consortium, this Botanical Safety Consortium, is a really interesting group of researchers and industry people, and it's basically between North America, both the United States and Canada, as well as Europe, and I guess the equivalent for the United States FDA, Food and Drug Administration, is the European Medicines Agency, EMA. And so this is a wonderful collection of organizations that are really dedicated to consumer protection, good information, safety guidelines, and it's because it is a global organization that also pairs with business as well as nonprofits. All of the recent cuts that have been put through by various people who I'm not thrilled with in the United States, this Botanical Safety Consortium was not harmed. So that's really good. And I think it's a recent organization. Actually, it was brought together in 2018, and it has survived the buzzsaw of billionaires who don't want to pay taxes or have any limits on what they want to do. And what's interesting is the plants and extracts involved. This Botanical Safety Consortium, compiled the following, and they're looking at these following herbs: aconite, kratom, which used to be the big thing in functional beverages, but I think there's a lot of cracking down on that currently, so at least the Botanical Safety Consortium is figuring out whether or not they should be cracked down. Kava, they want to establish what is a toxic dose. Oleander, this is a known human neurotoxin. I don't know about you. I grew up in Southern California, and we were always taught, don't chew on the oleander, you will die. You have these urban legends where kids are on a camp out and they roast their weenies on oleander sticks and they all die of poisoning. So to my knowledge, the only medicine that oleander comes up in is actually in a homeopathic dose. So that's not going to be a neurotoxin, but at least the Botanical Safety Consortium is looking at oleander. They're also looking at ashwagandha, Asian ginseng, the panic ginseng, ephedra, yohimbe. Now this one I've never taken or prescribed. It's called thunder god vine, Tripterigum willifordi. I've never used that botanically, but also golden seal. Now, what they're doing is they're looking at these complex extracts, and they're taking rat cortical neurons. So they take some sort of brain and nerve cortex from these poor animals, and they grow the cells in a lab, so they're not torturing tons of rats. And then they put these different plant extracts on them, and then they record what's going on. So there you go. So there's some, the other thing that I did want to tell everybody about, there is a recall and it's a product called Moringa. And this is something new. I've just recently started, I don't like the word, but playing with it with my own health. And it's supposed to be really good at blood sugar regulation. And if you are like me and you struggle with the battle of the bulge, I'm always looking for things to help my metabolism. And anything that regulates blood sugar is a good thing. But there is a Moringa capsules. It's from Zen Principle. And this was put out by MedWatch, the FDA Safety Information and Adverse Event Reporting Program. And they're recalling these products because they think that it might be contaminated with salmonella. So this is not a good thing. Usually salmonella poisoning is associated with meat, and if anything vegetable is grown outside of, let's say, a meat packing plant or a mega farm where the amount of feces that the animals are putting into the groundwater gets into the plants and makes everybody sick. So they just want to be careful with that. And apparently, you don't even have to return the bottle. They're just telling you throw it out, and there are numbers you can call, and if you have questions or if you would like a refund. But there's a reporting form, all sorts of things. So if you have Zen Principle Moringa capsules by Relay Peak Research, you need to buy another type of Moringa product. So this is Stephanie Georgieff saying thank you so much for spending your valuable time with me. I hope these little botanical medicine updates this week in botanical medicine, you find it as fascinating as I do. And make sure to check out the links in the program notes if you would like to learn everything that you can do to keep your cardiovascular system healthy. There's a specially priced course that's good until the end of July. So you have about a week and a half to do that. It's only 5 little videos. The longest one actually is the one that covers all the botanical medicines. The rest of it, it's anatomy and physiology, pathology. It's a really interesting video on the energetic considerations. So we look at the cardiovascular system from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, an Ayurvedic perspective, an anthroposophical medicine perspective, and also the ancient Galen techniques. And all of those give you some really interesting clues as to what's going on with you or anyone you love that has a cardiovascular issue, and how you can enhance your wellness and just general well-being of your cardiovascular system with simple, accessible herbs and interesting insights on nutrition. So until our next episode, be well.